What does the Pokemon Home update mean for you? 119 returning Pokemon, so we are going to be talking about that, but it also has an update for those Pokemon with a new move relearning system as you jump from game to game and Pokemon Home. So I'm going to be breaking that down, and there's also an interaction with the abilities. So if you enjoy the video or if it helps out in any way, don't forget to leave a like, share it with your friends, and comment your thoughts down below. So I really want to give my thoughts on the returning Pokemon, but this is what I'm talking about first because it's really important and is kind of complicated. So there is a new feature. When you place a Pokemon from your Pokemon Home box into the game, it will gain a special orange icon until you exit out of home. With Pokemon with this icon, you can change their moves. Change moves allow you to select any move it can learn up to the current level. And here's the weirdness about quality of life. We've seen incredible quality of life in modern Pokemon games with bottle caps, with nature mints, with hyper training working at level 50, also a lot of other changes and cool stuff that make competitive super accessible, but it's only up to the current level. So we don't have the move pre-learner, which was in Pokemon Sun and Moon, which was absolutely wild. This includes any moves it knew when it was hatched from an egg or taught by TM. If the Pokemon is being sent from another game, it can also be retaught moves that it learned in the source game if it can also learn that move in the target destination game. For example, Cresselia with Ice Beam and Sword and Shield you can put into Scarlet and Violet, you'll be able to teach it Ice Beam with the Change Moves option. So the Change Moves feature will allow you to grab the TMs if they are in both games. However, if you try to put a Pokemon that had a TM in Sword and Shield that it can't learn in Scarlet and Violet, that move will not be able to be added. This is an absolute mess. Also, the Move Relearner only works for moves that the Pokemon knows in that game. It won't let you recover event moves, so it's kinda useless. And yeah, that's the biggest problem with Pokemon Transfer, is that there's so many like exclusive moves from really old Pokemon games or events that are just lost forever or completely useless and unplayable now because there's no way of getting them back, or Pokemon Home just doesn't interact with them really well, and that's creating a lot of problems, and again, it makes the quality of life feel really weird. Yo, this is kind of spooky. So if I connect to a game, it has the moveset of the Pokemon from that game. So here's my Rotom. This has Pain Split, a tutor move. If we connect to Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, it doesn't even show the Pokemon Home moves, and with the new Change Moves feature, we just don't have access to the Pain Split anywhere, not even like oh, you can forget it, and then put it back into Pokemon Home. Now I'm going to sacrifice this Rotom for, like, research. Alright, so what I did was I took the Rotom, put it into Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, put it back onto Pokemon Home, and I'm going to see if it's the older version for Pokemon Sword and Shield. It is. So it shows like the game you're interacting with has that set moveset. Now we're just going to be in Pokemon Home, where the Rotom in Pokemon Home is now the Pokemon Scarlet and Violet one. Oh, that's very broken. Now, I moved my relevant transfer Pokemon into Pokemon Sword and Shield with the last Pokemon Home update, which is why the Rotom was there. So I couldn't find a Pokemon already in my Pokemon Home with transfer moves to kind of test how it works. But there was like some kind of weird snapshot into where, as long as I'm going into Generation 8, this Rotom has Pain Split. But after pulling it out of Generation 8, it doesn't have Pain Split in Pokemon Home, even though it did before I put it into Pokemon Sword and Shield years ago. My theory is that Pokemon Home version 3 became the snapshot of Pokemon moves, but that's also really problematic because then that means this Rotom became like a Generation 8 native Pokemon on the moveset instead of having its original Pokemon Home moveset that had the transfer exclusives that I put into Generation 8. And now it's just this in Pokemon Home forever, I think, where it should have Pain Split in Pokemon Home for potential transfers. Like if I never put this into Pokemon Sword and Shield, it would just have Pain Split, and then I think I could put it into Scarlet and Violet, bring it back, and still have Pain Split in Pokemon Home. And if they don't do that, please comment down below so people can know what's going on with the Pokemon Home transfers and keep some of their older Pokemon safe. Good luck. It's not just the move reset, Pokemon Home 3.0 also introduces an ability reset. Ability changes, like moves, will reset when transferred to other games. This affects both the ability capsule and ability patches. Awesome. Clarification though, this is only for ability changes in games other than the origin game of the Pokemon. So for example, you take a Blaze Charizard from Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl, you transfer it to Scarlet and Violet, then you use an ability patch on it, it now has solar power. However, if you transfer that Charizard back to Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl, or an eventual Generation 10 game, it will have Blaze again. But if you take a Pokemon from Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl, have its ability change there, the modified ability will be present in other games. Also, after all that, you move the Charizard back to Scarlet and Violet, it will again have solar power. Just like the moves, Pokemon Home is tracking abilities uniquely for each game. I hate Pokemon Home. This is so annoying. So, what it means is like this big one right here, is that the origin game of the Pokemon is what the base abilities is going to factor off of. But if you move a Pokemon from a non-origin game into a different game and then change the ability there for those uses, it's not going to stick. It's weird how, like, some things of the original Pokemon are preserved that don't matter, but the things that need to be preserved, like exclusive moves, just don't really matter, it seems. This is just why I haven't been a fan of Pokemon Bank ever, because all it really does is just bring in hacked Pokemon, and then legitimate players have, like, all these stipulations put on, like, their more valuable Pokemon, and it's just kind of weird and a lot of maintenance and work to move them around. But then they kind of become like these old, fragile things you're too scared to touch and play with too much. And I am baffled how it's 2023. We have Generation 9, we have Pokemon Home, we have this new Pokemon Home update, and there is not a way of having a Pokemon learn any move it has historically known. Who even cares about balance at that point? Again, because, like, it's just so easy to screw up very valuable historic Pokemon and events and, like, old movesets and stuff. Like, is Belly Drum Slurpuff really that much of a problem? Okay, I understand Fissure No Guard Machamp is, and there might have to be something about that, but all the other Pokemon, like, yeah, I just don't want to do anything Pokemon Home because it's just annoying. It also just kind of shows we are very, very long overdue for a battle simulator. But now let's talk about the Pokemon that are returning with Pokemon Home and are now available inside of Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. We're going to see what happens with an update to the Battle Stadium, which Pokemon are allowed. Hopefully we just don't go straight into Legendaries, immediately ruining Generation 9 before it's, like, first year, like, just half a year in or something. Also, we have DLC coming up, so that is usually introduced, like, Legendaries and stuff. It's gonna be weird. It's gonna be weird to see how this develops. We got Charmander, Charmeleon, Charizard already, and some of these Pokemon have already been made available through the Terra Raid events, but then some of these are also just, like, cool returning Pokemon, and then just Legendaries, so we're gonna see how that plays out. Articuno, Zapdos, Moltres, Mew, Mewtwo, so we also have all the Mythicals, we have all the restricted Legendaries, we have the playable Legendaries and stuff like that. Generation 2. No starters except for Typhlosion. Now this also means we have Hisuian Typhlosion and regular Typhlosion, so that's kind of a thing. Wooper, Quagsire, so we're also going to be getting the base forms compared to regional variant Pokemon. Generation 3 only getting Legendaries. Generation 4 getting Legendaries, so no starter Pokemon. It seems like from the Pokedex scrubbing that gets covered by the data miners and some other stuff that the DLC will pretty much bring in all of the starter Pokemon at some point. So we might see that being playable, and then once a Pokemon becomes available in DLC, then you can transfer it with Pokemon Home. So that's gonna be pretty cool. All the Hisuians, so we got Growlithe, Arcanine, Voltorb, Electrode, Qwilfish, Sneasel, Samurott, Lilligant, Zorua, Zoroark, Braviary, Sliggoo, Goodra, Avalugg, Decidueye. I did movesets for all of the Hisuian Pokemon, so if you want to get caught up for that, it's going to be pretty cool. It'll be interesting to see if these Pokemon are made available naturally, through in-game events or some kind of tie-in. If not, will they be on the Battle Stadium? They seem pretty interesting competitively, some of them. I'm looking forward to just bodying everything on Avalugg. We're going to see how that plays out. And we also just have the evolutions. Wordier, Cleavor, Ursaluna, Basculegion. Basculegion, interesting also because of the last respects. Sneasler, Overquill, and that's it. So we have Generation 5, Oshawott, Duat, Samurott, so same thing with Generation 2. We're not getting all of the starter Pokemon, just the Hisuian ones. Then we got Forces of Nature, Meloetta. Oh, wow. I thought, like, just all legendary Pokemon, but we don't have Reshiram, Zekrom. Man, this is what I mean. It's just so weird. Like, the National Dex is a mess. You can't just funnel all 1,000 Pokemon into a game, but this is also why we need a battle simulator, so you can just have all of the Pokemon competitively playable, and then not have to do all of this weirdness for, like, why are just some Pokemon and some starters allowed with the Pokemon Home update, and however that pacing goes with the Terra Raid events. There's no consistency here, and it makes it very difficult to keep track of just like simply moving around your Pokemon with Pokemon Home. But Generation 6, getting all of the starters and the evolutions. We also have Carbink coming in because of Deontay, I guess, and then Hoopa, Volcanion, Delphox, Chestnut. So those are just in. Yeah, so we just don't have all the legendaries. I thought it was all the legendaries, but Magearna's in. We don't have Solgaleo, Lunala, Nebby, and all that fun stuff. But then Decidueye is also in. Generation 8, starters. This is where things kind of get interesting. So we already had Cinderace as an event. That means we're going to have like Rillaboom and Inteleon being able to be ported in. We have Berserker coming in as well because of the regional variant shenanigans. Zacian, Zamazenta, Eternatus, and then all of the legendaries from the DLC. I really hope that the starter Pokemon get usable in the next rule set. I hope there is some kind of accessibility for the Hisuian Pokemon. That way, like, competitive is fair for the people that didn't play Pokemon Legends Arceus because it's the worst Pokemon game, or didn't grind the exclusives because of all the broken systems. Yeah, this is going to be kind of weird because a lot of them are final evolutions that become the Hisuian. So it's not like you can do the breeding thing where, like, okay, Hisuian Zoroark, you give that an Eviolite, and then you breed it in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, and then you can breed Hisuian Zeruas. That's nice. But then there's also ones like Goodra, to where it goes Gumi, Hisuian Sliggoo, Hisuian Goodra, and I don't think there's any mechanic around changing that. There's also like weird evolution requirements for some of the other Pokemon. Yeah, this is annoying to me. But that's kind of it. So it's going to come down to like how the Battle Stadium integrates all these Pokemon. It's weird that's not all legendaries. There's a lot of regional variants and things to juggle, and a lot of like extra mechanics that aren't really that fun for legitimate players. So a lot of it's going to suck, but I also did moveset guides for Pokemon like Inteleon. I'm like, guys, Inteleon was actually one of the most broken Pokemon in Generation 8, and no one figured that out, and now it's even more broken with the terrestrialization. So there's going to be like some cool things that are going to get pickup and usage, and if you can get your hands on the Hisuian Pokemon, they seem like they're going to be fun competitively. And as long as the game isn't ruined by legendaries, could be alright. So we go, that is the Pokemon Home update. I hope you enjoy the video. Hope you have a nice day. Thank you very much for watching.